Greetings from the dungeon, I'm Metal Queen. The song Princess of the Night is a classic heavy metal song by metal giants Saxon. It's the first track of their fourth album, Denim and Leather, released in 1981. And the single Princess of the Night reached number 57 in the UK charts. The other two singles were And the Bands Played On, Never Surrender. By the time the album was released, the band had been touring for almost a year, so they decided to dedicate this album to the fans, naming it after the heavy metal uniform, if you will, of denim and leather. The lyrics were written by Biff Byford, the singer, and he wrote it about a year before they even recorded the song. One day he heard Paul Quinn riffing and really liked one of the riffs and said, hey, that fits my lyric. And they got together and completed the song rather quickly. And the intro is one of the most recognized heavy metal intros in the history of the genre. Here it is.
She used to be an iron horse.
The band formed in 1977, and they released 4 albums in the span of 3 years, between 1979 and 1982. Now that's a ridiculous amount of albums. Part of it's probably because every single member had already been in bands since the early 70s. So when they joined Saxon, they were very experienced and very prolific. Another thing that contributed to their rapid success was changing their name from Son of a to Saxon. Nobody would want to sign them with the name Son of a apparently. The first verse is basically the guitar, and Biff comes in. So it's not really a cappella because the guitar's there, and the guitar is very staccato-y.
Staccato, with each sound or note sharply detached or separated from the others.
Once the first verse ends, the whole band joins in, and the effect is super titillating. Listen up.
She used to be an iron horse 20 years ago. Used to bring the mail to me through the ice and snow. I've sat alone and watched her steaming through the night. 90 tons of thunder lighting up the sky.
Did you hear that? Did you hear how the drums come in? I mean, amazing, right? Okay. Now, the other part of the song is the chorus. It's just another one of those brilliantly composed written pieces. It's super, super catchy, and it's got a super easy to remember melody. Here it is.
She was the princess of the night. We saw the writing on the wall. She was the princess of the night. I take a ride across the sky.
The beautiful thing about Biff is how he varies the chorus just slightly every time. And here's a sample of it.
I take a ride across the sky. I take a ride across the sky. I take a ride across the sky. Sky. Sky.
Side note, and if you're ever playing trivia, Saxon's bass player, Steve Dawson, was the inspiration for the bass player of This Is Spinal Tap, Derek Smalls, and portrayed by Harry Shearer. If you've never seen the rock mockumentary This Is Spinal Tap, you're in for a treat. Phenomenal mockumentary ever about the rock world. It goes to 11. Now let's talk about the solos. The first solo is performed by Paul Quinn. It's about the middle of the song. And the second solo is performed by Graham Oliver. Now that one is towards the end of the song. It's about a minute long. And Graham Oliver's specialty, if you will, is making the guitar sound like a motorcycle or just a bunch of metal craziness. Now we're going to talk about the mix. Listen to each instrument and how they sit relative to each other, and also how the vocals sit relative to the instruments. And if you can imagine the drum, also try to picture every part of the drum kit.
I take a ride across the sky. 90 tons of thunder lighting up the sky. Steaming red hot pistons, see the wheels flash by.
vocals are very clean and have slight delay. Then sitting right under the vocals is the bass drum, and the guitar sitting between. They have a ton of overdrive, just a bit of flanger, you know. The bass tone is very round, very well defined because Steve Dawson plays with his fingers as opposed to with a pick. Very rhythmic, very tied to the rhythm section, to the drums. On top of all this, back then the songs were recorded in analog, so basically they're all there. Instead of putting it through a computer, bam, you just recorded what they were doing on tape. So the song has a ton of dynamics, which means you can hear the waveforms go up and down. You can appreciate the cymbals, for example. Everything. Basically, you can appreciate everything.
What the Queen is trying to explain is, in the 1980s, before the loudness wars, records were mixed with the dynamics between the loudest peaks and lowest peaks. Nowadays, sadly, everything is so very loud and so overmastered.
If you're not really paying close attention to the verses, you might think this is a love song. The Princess of the Night comes to the sky, delivering the metal to you. Basically, that's what I thought it said.
Used to bring the mail to me.
So one day, karaoke, the lyrics say, she used to bring the mail to me. So wait a minute. Why would a princess go through the ice and snow to deliver the mail? I know it's England, but that sounds weird. And then you got the iron striking metal. The sound of racing steel. I'm thinking, wow, what's wrong with her mail truck? Is the dragon an exhaust? I don't know. Okay, so confusing. Turns out that after you read the lyrics and understand something about Saxon, they're not very well known as romantics. Basically, Saxon usually sings about planes, trains, automobiles. In this case, singing about a steam locomotive. So that explains a lot. However, it's impossible to take away the imagery since I was 12 of the Princess of the Night delivering the metal to you through the ice and snow. The difference now is that she is maneuvering a locomotive, if you will. Really interesting side note. In the early 80s, Saxon was super popular in Europe and in the UK. And in the UK tour, somebody opened for them in their tour. None other than Ozzy Osbourne in his supporting tour of The Blizzard of Oz. That's pretty rad. Let's talk about song structure. You got the intro, verse, chorus, the solo, chorus, verse, chorus, and the outro, which is the solo. The repetition of the chorus in this song drives it home. Prince of the Night is repeated twice in each chorus. There's 4 choruses, you hear that 8 times, which is probably why Biff varies it a little bit without making it monotonous. So it just gets fixated in the brain. And it ends with a solo. Great songwriting. Jeez, I'll buy it. I did. And vinyl and CD. This is a controversial side note. Turns out that part of this solo and part of the riff of this song, Prince of the Night, was used by none other than, Metallica. And their song Seek and Destroy. Even Graham Oliver said, oh yes, if you recognize this, it was used by Metallica. It's like an ode to Saxon, not a ripoff, I don't know, but listen up. So what makes this a great song? Everything. So it was very original, definitely original lyrics. It's got a nice, almost danceable rhythm, and super catchy riff, super catchy chorus, and super metal. Love it. So if you haven't heard it before, crank it really loud. Oh, that reminds me of the other song, Play It Loud, In the Neighborhood. There's so many Saxon songs. There's no time, but if you make time to listen to the first 4 albums, and of course the other albums are great too, so start with the first 4. Amazing. Signing off, Metal Queen from The Dungeon.